What the hell happened at the World Cup final? The World Cup final ended with a man being choked, not tackled, not shoved, choked. A throat grabbed, a body slammed to the turf. And the trophy wasn't even in the air yet. No confetti. No celebration. Just the reigning champions of the planet, Lionel Messi's Argentina, choosing to end their reign with fists instead of a farewell. So let's ask the only question that matters after 120 of the ugliest minutes this tournament has ever produced. What the hell happened out there? If you tuned in for a coronation, Messi riding into the sunset with a second star, a fairy tale ending, a classic for the ages, you got robbed. What you got instead was a clinic from one team and a complete unraveling from the other. You got Spain playing football. And you got Argentina playing something that, frankly, didn't deserve the name. By full time, one old truth had been proven in front of 80,000 people and a crowd that even booed the President of the United States. Football won. Not metaphorically. Literally. Let me show you exactly how. But before we get to the pitch, know this. FIFA had already lit a fuse before kickoff, announcing the first ever Super Bowl-style halftime spectacle in World Cup final history. A decision that would go on to infuriate half the planet. Hold that thought. We're coming back to it, and it deserves every second of the reckoning it's about to get. The football Spain played. Look at the stat sheet, because it might be the most lopsided line in World Cup final history. Spain, 20 shots, 12 on target, 1.9 expected goals, 65% possession, 76% territorial dominance, meaning 3/4 of the game's meaningful attacking action happened inside Argentina's half. Argentina, 2 shots. 0 on target. 0. An expected goals number of 0.2, the mathematical way of saying they did nothing. The defending world champions, in a World Cup final, did not force a single save out of Spain's goalkeeper. Not one. Meanwhile, Argentina's own keeper, Emiliano Martinez, was making save after save just to keep his team breathing, 11 of them by the end. Read those numbers back to back. Argentina, 0 shots on target. Argentina's goalkeeper, 11 saves. That's not a football match. That's a siege with a scoreboard bolted on. So how does a team get outplayed that badly and still hang on until the 106th minute? Simple, when you can't win the game, you try to stop the other team from playing one at all. The blueprint. Because Argentina's game plan wasn't tactical. It was industrial. 14th minute, Alexis Mac Allister flies in on Dani Olmo with a reckless, two-footed, late challenge that leaves the Spaniard in a heap. No card. Minutes later, Nicolas Tagliafico hauls down teenage sensation Lamine Yamal in what one analyst charitably called deliberate and clumsy, dragging him, clipping his heels, raking his studs down the calf, committing 4 fouls in a single motion. No card. Lisandro Martinez sides down Mikel Oyarzabal from behind. Then, off the bench, comes Leandro Paredes, apparently deciding the first half wasn't nasty enough, elbowing Rodri in the back and igniting a full-blown melee. Spain's Enrique Lopart had called this before kickoff, warning that Argentina leave a lot of little messages with their challenges. He wasn't guessing. He'd watched the tape. This is the exact template Argentina used to strong-arm their way past England in the semifinal, a game arguably nastier than the final itself. They didn't outplay England. They provoked them, poked them, dared them to snap. Enzo Fernandez caught Elliot Anderson's head early. Paredes went through Jude Bellingham's ankle. Christian Romero taunted England's players in their own faces after scoring. And Argentina's own unused substitute sprinted the length of the pitch just to mock the opposition, brazen enough that Bellingham slapped him across the back of the head for it. That's the blueprint: get under your opponent's skin, drag them down to your level, hope they crack first. It worked against England. Spain had done their homework. And here's what this channel has been saying for weeks: the referees kept letting Argentina get away with it. All tournament long, officials have swallowed the whistle whenever Argentina crossed the line, and the final was no different. Referee Slavko Vincic went soft early, desperate to keep 22 men on the pitch, and it let Argentina rack up fouls that would be bookable anywhere else. The first yellow card in a game this violent didn't arrive until the 41st minute. So yes, for this entire run, the whistle has bent Argentina's way, and plenty of people have fairly asked whether FIFA's most marketable stars were being protected. But here's where Spain made every conspiracy irrelevant. You cannot rig a game, you cannot get the ball in. Spain simply refused to engage with the shoving, the whining, the theater. They spun Argentina on a passing carousel for 2 straight hours and let every foul just bounce off them. The calmest possible answer to the ugliest possible question. It didn't matter what help Argentina might have been hoping for, they never held the ball long enough to need it. Football 1. Self-destruction. Then Argentina did what Argentina does best. They imploded. Enzo Fernandez, already skating on thin ice, picked up a booking for dissent after sarcastically applauding the referee. Then, deep into stoppage time with the match crawling toward penalties, he went in studs first through Spain's teenage defender Pau Cubarsí, launching him into the air. Second yellow. Red card. Gone. In the words of nearly everyone watching, brainless. Argentina, already losing the match in every measurable way, reduced themselves to 10 men and handed themselves 30 extra minutes of defending a man short. Enzo Fernandez became just the 3rd Argentine ever sent off in a World Cup final. Let that sink in. The 3rd. It's practically tradition at this point. With the extra man, Spain finally broke through. Or thought they had a goal was chalked off for a soft foul on Ordóñez, the one moment all night the whistle actually favored Argentina. The breakthrough only delayed the inevitable. By the end of the first half of extra time, Spain had piled up 19 shots to Argentina's 0. A team knocking, and knocking, and knocking on a door that simply would not open. Even ice-cool 19-year-old Yamal started visibly losing patience under the cynical fouling. Penalties loomed, which would have been a cruel joke on a team that had 65% of the ball and a dozen shots on target to show for it. Then, mercifully, the door gave way. 106th minute. Pedro Porro, one of the standout players of the knockouts, floats across to the back post. Nico Williams nods it across. Substitute Ferran Torres lashes it past Martinez's despairing dive. 1-0. Spain's 20th shot of the night. The dam broke, and it broke on the shoulders of a team that had earned it 100 times over. Messi, untouched. Now let's be fair, because one man on that pitch deserves it more than anyone else. Whatever his teammates became on Sunday night, Lionel Messi was not part of it. This was his quietest game of the entire tournament, 1 touch in the first 15 minutes, and that touch came from the kickoff. Anonymous, marked out of the game, drifting the far side of the pitch like a memory nobody could quite reach. There was exactly one flash of life right after Enzo's red card. Messi sprang up, dug into that bottomless well of genius, and used it to complain to the referee that Marc Cucurella had covered his mouth while talking to him. Hand raised, pleading his case like a kid asking the teacher to punish a classmate. The referee wasn't moved. It was, and I say this with total respect for the greatest player who has ever lived, one of the strangest sights of the whole tournament, the sports-defining genius reduced to a playground tattletale. When it ended, he didn't throw a punch. He didn't grab a throat. He sank to the grass, alone, and cried. Losing a final at 39, in what's almost certainly his last World Cup, a tournament he only reached because he dragged a limited squad there on his back. None of that touches his legacy. That was carved in stone in Qatar 4 years ago and it isn't up for review. Even German pundit Thomas Hitzelsberger, who tore into Argentina's players as thugs with no sense for the beautiful game, made a point of calling Messi a genius. The real tragedy of this final is that the greatest to ever do it spent his goodbye surrounded by teammates determined to make the night about the ugliest version of themselves. The aftermath. And to Argentina's credit, this isn't just a dirty team, and it would be lazy to pretend otherwise. This is a genuinely bonded group. Players who vacation together, who play with a fierce, almost religious intensity, who back that unity up with a World Cup in 2022 and back-to-back Copa Americas in 2021 and 2024. Their fans turned American cities into oceans of blue and white all summer and gave this tournament its electricity. As legend Gabriel Batistuta put it, this team did exactly what any fan would ask for, they played with heart. Even coach Lionel Scaloni said the right things afterward, we've been great in victory, and we need to be great in defeat. Beautiful sentiment. One problem, his players did the exact opposite, on camera, in front of the entire world. Because the second the final whistle went, Argentina didn't lose with grace. They lost their minds. As Spain celebrated, Nahuel Molina appeared to swing at Rodri running past him. Rodri confronted him. Molina squared up. It detonated. Eric Garcia stepped in to defend his teammate and Paredes, of course it was Paredes, grabbed Garcia by the throat and threw him to the ground. Then went after Gavi. Then went after Thiago Almada, yanking him down by the bib, while Scaloni sprinted around the pitch trying to physically pull his own players off Spain's. Cameras caught Nicolas Otamendi telling Rodri that Spain's players had been crying all week and should talk less. This is the reigning world champions. This is how they chose to hand over the crown. And then came the part that stung worse than any punch. When Spain climbed the podium after extending Argentina a guard of honor moments earlier, Argentina's players physically turned their backs and huddled with their own fans. And when Rodri collected the golden ball as the tournament's best player, Argentina's supporters tried to drown it out with chants for Messi. You lost the match. You lost your composure. You lost a player to a red card. And then you tried to steal the winner's moment on your way out the door. Toni Kroos watched the whole thing unfold and summed it up in 3 words that became the epitaph of the night: football won. Not Argentina's version of football. Football itself. The verdict. So here's the honest verdict, and Spain have earned every word of it. This wasn't a thrilling final, it was a strangulation, and Spain had their hands wrapped firmly around the game from minute 1. Look at what they did across the whole tournament, not just this one night. 1 goal conceded, 1 in 9 matches. They dismantled pre-tournament favorites France, Mbappe and all, 2-0, in a match far more brutal than the scoreline suggests. They are now European and world champions simultaneously, riding a 38-game unbeaten run, the longest in the history of international football. They did not lose a single match all summer, and they refused to lose this one too. That's not luck. That's not a soft draw. That's not the referee. That's a team so composed, so relentless, so surgically good that no amount of shoving, diving, whining, or throat-grabbing could touch them. Argentina rode provocation and late-game desperation all the way to the final, plus the quiet suspicion that someone upstairs wanted them to win. And in the one match where it counted most, they ran headfirst into a team that simply took the ball, kept it, and never gave the chaos a single inch to breathe. The mask came off. The world saw exactly what was underneath Argentina's 2022 confetti. And football, actual, beautiful, keep the ball, keep your head football, won anyway. The villain without a jersey. Which brings us to the one villain who never wore a shirt on the pitch. Remember that halftime show I told you to hold on to? Here's the reckoning. For the first time in World Cup final history, FIFA decided the match itself wasn't the main event and bolted a full Super Bowl-style spectacle onto the biggest game on the planet. Madonna riding in on a buggy driven by Ronaldo, plus BTS, Shakira, Justin Bieber, Burna Boy, The Muppets, a full orchestra, and Coldplay flooding the stadium with the word love on repeat. As a show? Slick. Fun. Well produced. Fine. As a decision? A disgrace. The laws of the game state halftime shouldn't exceed 15 minutes. This one ran 27 minutes and 23 seconds, nearly double. One fan summed up the internet's mood with a Godfather meme: "Look what they did to my beautiful game." And this wasn't just a taste problem, it was a competitive integrity problem. FIFA took 2 teams who had just battled through 45 brutal minutes of a World Cup final and parked them in the tunnel for almost half an hour, muscles cooling, rhythm dying, so a concert could happen on the pitch. All because a bigger show means bigger sponsorship checks. When your own halftime act is generating more headlines than your final, you've forgotten what people actually showed up for. And it wasn't even the most awkward moment off the ball. Donald Trump was loudly booed walking out for the trophy presentation alongside Gianni Infantino. Christian Romero refused to shake his hand during the medal ceremony. And as Spain lifted the trophy, Trump lingered at the edge of the celebration trying to get in the photo, while Infantino visibly tried to steer him out of frame. A president booed. A defender snubbing him. FIFA's own president shooing him out of the picture. A brawl wrapped around a concert wrapped around a circus. FIFA wanted spectacle. They got it. Just not the kind that earns anyone's trust. So which moment tells the whole story for you, the 0 shots on target, the throat grab, or Argentina turning their backs on the champions? Drop it in the comments. And if you rode this whole tournament out with me, the full retrospective is coming next. Every villain, every underdog, every whistle. This has been the wildest World Cup of our lives. Let's close it out together.